What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
At 8 AM we set out from Almora with Ma, and by 11 AM had reached a forest bungalow in a place called Darchula. The scenic beauty was exquisite. We had refreshments and rested until 3 PM. Before evening we reached a place called Darchula, where we cooked, had dinner and spent the night on the veranda of a dak bungalow.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
On Monday the 17th of June we started at 5 AM so we could rest up in the afternoon heat. By midday we had reached Heragat, where we were able to purchase rice, dal, ghee, salt and some other essentials. Such shops would be few and far between further on. An elderly gentleman appeared and placed fruit and flowers at Ma's feet. We reached Ganal before dusk.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
The next day we stayed at Benanag, followed by Thala, where we camped on the veranda of a school. The sight of the magnificent mountains inspired great thoughts and emotions in us. The natural beauty of the mountains cannot be compared to anything else. All those who have trodden this path will surely vouch for the truth of my statement.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
It was raining and very warm, especially as we'd been walking in the sun. We reached the meeting point of the two rivers, the Gari and Kali Gangas. This is said to be the entrance gate to the Kailas. The pathway had been badly damaged by rain, and we found it very difficult and dangerous to proceed. Parvati, who is used to these mountains, did her best to help everyone.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
After a dreadful journey of 2 river crossings and an added soaking from the incessant rain, we reached Darchula. We halted at a small dak bungalow. It was by the river and surrounded by lofty mountains. The river is wide here, and the hill tribe people tie a rope on either side and cross on a pulley like monkeys. It is frightening to watch. In the course of a conversation, Ma said, "You will see that dispensable pleasures will fall away by themselves. See, when the time is right, the dry leaves fall away from a tree. They do not need to be pulled off, which may actually harm the tree." At 7 AM on the 24th of June, we set out and the terrain was so rough we all walked for fear of falling from the dandies. I walked ahead a little with Ma, and it was here that she sat on a rock and sang this enchanting song in Bengali, "Return Home."
Return, return to your own home again. Return, return to your own home. Return, return to your home.
The road had become treacherous and we met Gurupriya Devi on the path. Her service seems to be to help pilgrims. Sitting next to Ma, she said, "Never before have I experienced such happiness in my life." Then 2 other hill tribe women appeared from nowhere. They ran to Ma as if they had known her for years.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
The path had become so bad, it was difficult for anyone to walk. Beautiful waterfalls decorated the way, but we were in no condition to admire them. Every moment we feared a fall. Ma's dandy was knocked down, but she was unhurt. How terrible the path was. One even feared to tread along it. It was with great relief we reached Bodhi and took shelter in a school building.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
This short journey will live long in my memory. It was either an almost perpendicular ascent over slippery rocks or a descent down an equally precipitous incline. At Malpa, we sheltered in a dirty room, but I was so thankful just to lie down that I found no fault with my surroundings. As we neared Garbiyan, the scenery had become indescribably beautiful.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
At Garbiyan, we put up in the schoolhouse and were warned that the road ahead was infested with bandits. We had a day of rest and dried out the wet clothing. A pile of letters was awaiting us, and the postmaster delivered them. Many people came to see Ma, as news of her arrival had soon spread. The local people here are beautifully built.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
Tonight Parvati's mother came to visit us. She brought rice, dal and wheat flour with her, and also a pair of Tibetan snowshoes for Ma. To her great joy, Ma agreed to spend a night at their village. Parvati, on the other hand, would accompany us to the holy mountain. The following day we set off for her house, only 2.5 miles, but a grueling trip that included a frightening river crossing.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
Our guide had warned us that the road ahead would be very bad. We started at 11, and so did the rain. There was no path to speak of, but we were riding horses now, and they picked their way through the ocean of boulders, rocks and stones. The rain had become torrential, and we were freezing cold, wet, numb, and stuck in our saddles like lifeless blocks of wood.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all danger?
It rained most of the day, but we covered 7 miles, including another frightening river crossing. We were frozen stiff, but managed to keep hold of the horses' reins and no one fell off. We huddled in a sheep shelter full of dung and managed to put up 4 tents. Most of us couldn't eat, and all we could raise from the fire were a few feeble puffs of smoke, not enough for cooking. So we went to bed cold, wet and hungry.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
Parvati had thoughtfully managed to dry enough wood, so we were able to make a fire and cook some food in the morning. Then we set off in the rain, meeting only the odd trader here and there with his sheep and goats. The rain became worse and we began to climb up towards a pass. We had already experienced breathlessness due to the altitude, and Ma carefully dispensed her own preparations to us.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
Even the remembrance of the Lipu Pass is frightening. We had heard many stories of dangerous falls and travellers losing consciousness at such a height. But we have no need of fear. Ma is with us, and we are under a magic spell. We climbed up to 17,000 feet into a vast sea of snow and ice, then slid down 1,000 foot into a silent valley.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
The descent was dangerous, so we dismounted our ponies. They carefully picked their way down the steep path, while we on the other hand had many falls, but only into soft snow, so it didn't matter. After all, Ma was looking after us, and with her here, and the exquisite scenery all around us, gave rise to a feeling of deep bliss within.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all danger?
We came to a town in what seemed to be the middle of nowhere. The people were not friendly. They stared at us, as if sizing us up. We were told many bandits lived here and realised why our guide was carrying a gun. I was glad when morning came and we moved on. We passed some caves, temples, and the odd patch of greenery here and there that brightened the landscape.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all danger?
Ma had attracted a large crowd before we left, some touching her feet while she caught hold of their fingers. Did they know who she was? There was no common language. The scenery was beautiful as we moved through a silent land, with more temples and strings of coloured bunting fluttering in the breeze. Wary of bandits, we kept close together. It was then that we saw a band of them up ahead. They call them dacoits here. And our guide galloped up to their tent, which was a temporary den. He spoke to them, and we passed without incident. Ma was now riding on horseback, no longer in a dandy. It was then that we saw the lake, and Ma ordered us to go on ahead while she waited for the weakest in our group, who had been lagging behind.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all dangers?
Our journey's end was in sight. The holy mountain appeared in the distance, and at our campsite I sat down to write. What a spot this is! It is just as beautiful as it is dangerous. The colours of the lake, the mountains, our distant goal. Seeing these sights, we were filled with an undescribable joy.
What makes you go abroad through a land of strangers, when you could be safe at home, free from all danger?
I am sure that every pilgrim is gripped with a feeling of returning home. Return, return to your own home again. Return, return to your own home. Return, return to your home. Return, return to your own home again. Return, return to your own home. Return, return to your home. Return, return to your own home again. Return, return to your own home. Return, return to your home. Return, return to your own home again. Return, return to your own home. Return, return to your home. Return, return to your own home again. Return, return to your own home. Return, return to your home. Return, return to your own home again. Return, return to your own home. Return, return.